Hello and welcome to my video. I'm finishing up the red piece for the Corners of My Heart pouch that I have a pattern on my blog. So I'm just finishing up the last few stitches of the 8th row, and then this video is to show you how to fold the heart when you're whip stitching it together. If you're watching this video on YouTube and you would like to know exactly your row counts and the stitches that you're using for this piece, then please go down in the link down there and click on the link that takes you to the Corners of My Heart pattern, and that will have all the information to create the red piece. If you are watching this from my website, then obviously there is no bar down there. You're already here in the pattern and you're probably ready to start folding your heart. So let me finish my last half double crochet. There's my hole there. And get this tied off. So when you're done with the pattern, you're pretty much left with a very large red rectangle. So we're going to go ahead and tie this off. Now I do tend to leave adequate tails when I'm creating this piece because you can whip stitch with those tails. So when you're looking at the piece, you lay it down. This is the side that I finished working on. You're basically going to fold it in half and get an idea of where the bottom is, and this is the bottom corner of the heart. Now we know where the middle is. It's about right here. We're going to fold this piece up much like you're folding a paper airplane. So this is going to form the front of the heart. So with that said, neither of these tails are in a good position. So I'm going to take about a foot of my red yarn, cut that off, and I'm going to thread that into a yarn sewing needle. I apologize for the camera on this. I'm new to filming my hands. I should go get nails put on again, huh? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and thread that on. And starting down here in the corner, we're just going to whip stitch the heart back together. I do tend, just going to tie a little knot here to secure it. I'm actually just going to drop that tail and then let's go ahead and snip it off because, you know, yeah, let's not snip it off. I love afterthoughts, don't you? Alright, so now that we have that laying down in the middle, we're going to go ahead and continue whip stitching up the heart, stitch to stitch. Your top piece should be flush, and we're only going to stitch it to about the 6th stitch from the top. So let's go ahead and do that now. I am not the best yarn whip stitcher. I never have been. I've had trouble joining squares together in certain patterns, actually. So you just want it to look nice and clean because this is the outside of the piece. It is important that it look nice because you don't want to give away a junky little pouch. I'm always hesitant about making gifts like this because you never know how they're going to be accepted. I mean, it is a little bag. What can you do with a little bag? So I actually sat and was pondering it. You know, what can I do with this bag? And I'm like, okay, well, I can put little candies in it, which is what I'm going to do. Oh, this is the first one that I made, just for people who always forget to show the item that I'm making, but that's it. So right now we're whip stitching up here. So I'm like, well, you know, the hole in this little bag is actually, see, there's the hole. The hole in this little bag is actually big enough for a gift card. It's like, okay, I could hold a gift card. Well, the man and I are going to be going to a concert, it seems, in the next couple months, so I was thinking about that. I'm like, I could put the concert tickets, although he already knows we're going, so it's not much of a surprise. And then I was like, let's really get creative. And I was like, well, it could hold potpourri. You could make like a satchel for a drawer out of it. You know, these are secondary uses too. You could put candy in it, and then later Now, I'm not sure how adventuresome I want to tell people, but I really think it would make a good hot pad, too. Like for your counter, not as a pot holder, but a hot pad, just to have it on the counter. So if you pull a hot bowl or a hot pot out, you can set it down without scorching the counter. So I'm not exactly how many more uses I can come up for this thing, and I was like, okay, nothing like a telephone interruption. Sorry about that. And when I'm doing something like this, it's not something I can just tear out and redo, so all my little edits are all in here, and you're going to see me struggle with the yarn and everything else. Yay. But you know, working with yarn is not perfect. I mean, you're going to have to tear out. You're going to have to accept that mistakes are going to be made. Alright, so I have that, just about six stitches from the top. That's just going to be enough to bend this in and make a decent heart shape. So I'm going to go ahead and on the inside of it, I'm going to actually knot this off and cut the string. But before I, about to get ugly with my knot. Oh, gracious. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and weave my end in, but make sure that your needle does not go all the way through, because you might hinder the actual look of the whip stitch on the other side. My yarn's starting to tangle with itself. Deathmatch. Yeah, you're going to get all the little commentaries with my heart here. That's the way I am when I crochet. Mistakes happen. So yeah, you want to keep this part, the weaving of the tails in, completely on the inside of the heart. You do not want your needle to pop through on the other side. Alright, we'll call that woven in, and we're going to go ahead and trim that tail. What I will do later is I will go, I'll do that now. I'm going to go ahead and take this tail, go ahead, oop, I just hit the camera. I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to thread it onto this tail, maybe, and just weave it in a little bit more, a little bit better. Actually, it looks like it has a snag there. There we go. And remember, you're going to keep it on this side of the material so you don't make the whip stitch on the other side look a little odd. Go ahead and trim that. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn this back the right way. Alright. Now we're going to go ahead and use these tails, our end tail. What I'm going to go ahead and feed that tail, and this just helps prevent having a lot of extra little strings. Use what's there. We're just taking this and bending it down, and we're going to whip stitch it. And because this is all red, honestly, people aren't going to see it. So just a nice little tack stitch, nothing, you know, make sure that your other side stays nice and clean. I'm just going to tack it down. All will be pretty. Now you can feed this back up through the yarn and do that little side, but I find it is not exactly necessary. The next fold is going to be this side. You're going to fold it down so this side touches, much like you did this bottom corner. So I think I have enough yarn here. I'm going to go ahead and tack this down. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to bring this up. I don't have as big a tail, so weaving this end is probably not going to be easy. I might just do that with my whip stitch. Lay the tail down. Bring your fold over and start whip stitching it together, and make sure you keep this little tiny tail in. If you leave a larger tail or you have the yarn and you don't want to weave it in with the whip stitch. You can leave a longer tail and just sew it in. But I have to say, you know, these little trinket things, I'm always kind of skeptical to give them, but whenever I've given a little crocheted token, you know, not a full-blown afghan or a sweater or a hat, people still enjoy them because they know the time that it took you to create it and they appreciate that. To me, a handcrafted item is probably one of the absolute best ways you can tell somebody that you love them and you care about them, because you're putting the time and effort into something for them. As you can see, we've now completed 1/2 of the heart. So we're going to repeat those 2 folds, the tiny fold in the corner here and the main fold here. Now that we are done with our heart and getting all of the stitching together, you now see you have a heart. You have a nice little pouch here. This is kind of why I was thinking, you know, gift cards and tickets, because it's very squared off. But the main heart is this front side. The pouch is kind of hidden in the back. So what we want to do now, the pattern calls for pink yarn. Well, obviously you do not need a lot. About 1.5 feet is going to do. Now you can either run this through without chaining it, you can chain it and feed it through that way. You could even replace the yarn with a piece of ribbon if you're really good at bows. I'm not. So when you're feeding in the yarn, you want to start at the corner of the heart and you want to feed into, because you want the tail to come out of this side so you can tie it off. So I'm just going to follow the outside of the heart in a or in a, just, you know, in a patchwork type stitch. You do want to sew through the back side. You don't have to, but I like to because it kind of gives it a more finished look. It edges it, it pinches it together, and just helps keep the form of the heart, because this is kind of an abstract heart. It's very angular versus some other counterparts to it, other hearts that you may be able to find patterns for crochet. Oh, got some red going there. So I'm going to just follow the edge of the heart. Makes a very nice little country looking heart. So let's go ahead and do that. As you're working through this, you obviously don't want to speed through because you want to have a nice finished product. Sometimes I get in a hurry though, and I find when I get in a hurry I actually take more time on a project, which doesn't seem to make sense except for the fact that I usually end up not very happy with the result, so I end up having to frog it. For those of you who are not familiar with the crochet term, frogging it means you rip it, rip it, rip it. Yeah. I'm a member at Crochetville, and that's actually I think where I first heard the term, and I love it because it's so very, 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 very true. I'm sorry this part isn't more exciting. But we're just trying to keep our... I would really be interested if anybody makes one of these. You know, you can reply with a video comment. Now, an important part. The important part with this is you want the yarn that you're pulling through to come out on the front side of the work, but you want it to be right next to the tail, like so. You don't want this to come out and be, you know, up here or way over here. You want them to come out relatively close to one another. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, leave a little bit of a tail. And the first thing I usually tie a knot whenever I deal with yarn bows. And that is so if it does come untied, it doesn't come unraveled. Now I have my knot, and now I'm going to tie a nice little bow. I'm not good with bows, so no laughing. I usually have to pull this one. There we go. That actually didn't turn out half bad. And I'm just going to trim my tails so they're up a little bit. And voila. A nice little heart pouch. First I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, and thank you for watching my video. Thanks. Bye.